All right, hello, fifth graders. We are moving on here in chapter 2. Today, specifically looking at lesson 2.3. And we have three different things that we're going to be doing here in this video today and in this lesson at school. And the first part tells us to write the words as an expression. Now, we're going to talk about how an expression is just a math problem that does not have an equal sign. A math problem that has an equal sign is considered an equation. We'll talk a little bit more about that in class, but we're going to take some of these word phrases and word sentences and turn them into mathematical expressions. So, starting first here, write the words as an expression. Number 1, add 13 to the quotient of 81 and 9. Well, the first thing here is we're adding 13. And fifth grade, a lot of this can be overwhelming. We just want to start putting numbers down in order and kind of doing whatever. But we really want to break things down to kind of understand what's happening here. First of all, this says add 13. The fact that this says add 13 tells me that somewhere in my expression, it needs to say plus 13. Because I'm adding 13. You want to do what it says. So the fact that it says add 13 means somewhere in my expression it needs to say plus 13. That's kind of what I mean by breaking it down. But we're adding 13 to the quotient of 81 and 9. The key word here is quotient. It's important that we understand what this word means. The quotient is the answer to a division problem. So it says the quotient of 81 and 9, that means it's 81 divided by 9. Now, fifth grade, I'm going to be wanting you to get in the habit, okay? It's not necessarily wrong for you to write 81 divided by 9, but Mr. Swack is kind of thinking long term here. And long term, you're going to want to start to get into the habit of writing your division problems as fractions. We've talked about that just a little bit in math class, not a ton up to this point, but I want you to get in the habit of writing your division problems as fractions. So instead of writing 81 divided by 9, in your actual expression, what I'd like to see is 81 over 9, written as a fraction. You're going to get to the point where you get into the junior high and high school level, and you're going to need to recognize that fractions and division go along together. And we're going to write this as a fraction, 81 divided by 9. So we have adding 13 to the quotient of 81 and 9, and we're moving on. Number 2 tells us to subtract 62 from the sum of 278 and 77. So first of all, it says subtract 62. That has to register in our brain, fifth graders, that means minus 62. We're going to be subtracting 62 from the sum of 278 and 77. Once again, the key word here is sum. The sum is the answer to an addition problem. So it says the sum of 278 and 77. So I'm adding those two numbers together. So I'm going to come over here. 278 plus 77. Now, because the order of operations tells me to do parentheses first, then clear exponents, then multiply and divide left to right, then add and subtract left to right, there would be nothing that I would do here because there's no parentheses, there's no exponents, there's no multiplying and dividing, it's just adding and subtracting. So the order of operations would actually tell me to do this first. So it's not necessary to put a parentheses around 278 plus 77 because the order of operations would tell me to do that first anyway. However, so if I left it like this, it would be fine. However, it would not be wrong to put parentheses there to show that, to make it very clear that that's what you're doing first. All right, let's go ahead and move right along to our second section here. Write the words as an expression, then interpret the expression. So basically, we're going to be doing what we just did, and then we're going to kind of be interpreting, kind of giving the mathematical steps, what type of math problems I'm doing in order. So write the words as an expression, then interpret the expression. So it says add 25 and 7, then divide by 8. Once again, I want you to get into the habit of doing your division problems with fractions. So it says add 25 plus 7, then divide by 8. So I'm adding 25 and 7, so I can safely go ahead and put 25 plus 7. All right? Then it tells me that I'm dividing by 8. So there's a couple of different things I can do. Really what I want you to do, okay, is what I really would like you to do is to set this up, and let me kind of hold that down with my foot. Set that up as a fraction over 8, and then so there's no confusion, go ahead and put parentheses around that so that you know that you have to add that first. Okay, don't go and try to divide these by 8 or anything else. Just go ahead and do the addition problem that we're going to put in parentheses, then divide by 8. This is ideally what I would want you to do. All right, however, I want to make it very clear that at the 5th grade level, we could do this. We could put 25 plus 7 in parentheses and then just show divide by 8. That'd be okay too. But I really want to get you going on that way. All right, now, so it talks about interpret the expression. Basically, all I'm going to want you to do to interpret the expression is to kind of put the mathematical steps in order. So when I interpret the expression, and I look at this, or I'm going to focus on this one here, since this is really what I want, we're going to do it in what's in parentheses first, and that's addition. So for my interpretation, I'm going to put step 1 is to add, and then after I add, step 2 is to divide. And that's all I really want you to do when you're interpreting the expression. All right? So you're going to write the expression, then you're going to interpret it. All right, let's look at number 2. Subtract 47 from 77, then multiply by 1/3. Subtract 47 from 77, then multiply by 1/3. So we're subtracting 47 from 77. Just because this number is listed first does not mean it comes first in the subtraction problem. It says we're taking 47 away from 77. So what this is 77 minus 47. Then it tells me to multiply by 1/3. So I'm going to go ahead and put a dot for multiplication, and then by 1/3. Now, it's not a very good 3. Let me kind of try to fix that. That's a little better. 1/3. Now, it's always very important, 5th grade, to double check, because it would be very easy to stop right here and then go on to the next one and think, well, I've done it. I've put subtract 47 from 77 and then multiply by 1/3. But remember the order of operations. The order of operations, the first step is to clear parentheses. Second step is to clear exponents. There's no parentheses. There's no exponents. However, the third step tells us to multiply and divide left to right. So because there's no parentheses and because there's no exponents, the order of operations would actually tell me that according to this problem, the first thing I would have to do is 47 times 1/3. Well, I don't want to do that first. The word expression clearly says subtract 47 from 77, then multiply. So how do I solve that? Well, I have to put that in parentheses to show that that has to happen first. All right? Details. Just be careful. Pay attention to those details. Double check your problem. All right, last section that we're going to talk about here, 5th grade. It says, write the words as an expression, then evaluate the expression. Write the words as an expression, then evaluate the expression. Well, the first one says, subtract the product of 2 and 7 from the product of 11 and 8. Well, this word shows up twice, product. It's important that we understand what product means in math. Product means the answer to a multiplication problem. So we're subtracting the product of 2 and 7 from the product of 11 and 8. So the product of 2 and 7 is being subtracted from the product of 11 and 8. So first of all, I know I have a subtraction problem. Okay? I know that I have that because it says subtract. I'm subtracting from the product of 11 and 8. That means I'm multiplying 11 and 8. So I can go ahead. That's going to be the first number in my subtraction problem because it's coming from the product of 11 and 8. So I'm going to put 11 times 8. And I'm subtracting the product of 2 and 7 from the product of 11 and 8. So here's the product of 11 and 8. And I'm subtracting the product of 2 and 7 from that. Now, first of all, are parentheses necessary? No, in this situation, because the order of operations would tell me to multiply first. There's no parentheses, there's no exponents. So I would actually be multiplying and dividing left to right first, which means I would actually do 11 times 8 first, then I would do 2 times 7, and then I would subtract whatever those two numbers are that are left. However, it's not wrong to go ahead and put those in parentheses, if that helps you, okay? But once again, parentheses there, as long as you follow the order of operations correctly, are not going to affect anything. Now, these sets of directions tell us to then evaluate the expression. Then evaluate the expression. So, I actually need to solve it now. So my first step is to go 11 times 8. Well, 11 times 8 is 88. And then I would have to do 2 times 7, and 2 times 7 is 14. That leaves me with 88 minus 14. So if I come over here, you might be able to do that mental math, but if you need to do some scratch work, go ahead. 8 minus 4 is 4. 8 minus 1 is 7. I get 74. All right, real quick, I realized I forgot something just glancing over here in number 2 from interpret the expression. So I want to go back and fix that. We never actually interpreted it. Okay? So once again, writing my steps, remember in this one, in my parentheses, because I have to have that in parentheses because it tells me to subtract first. Step 1 is to subtract. And then step 2, after I subtract, then I would multiply it by 1/3. And I would write multiply. All right, back to our last one. Add 21 to the quotient of 80 and 4. Add 21 to the quotient of 80 and 4. We're writing the words as an expression, then we're going to evaluate the expression. We're adding 21 to the quotient of 84. So somewhere in my expression, it has to say plus 21 because it says I'm adding 21. Now, what am I adding 21 to? Well, I'm adding it to the quotient of 80 and 4. The quotient, remember, is the answer to a division problem. How does Mr. Swack want you to write your division problems when we're doing these kind of pre-algebra sorts of things? That's right, as fractions. So this is the quotient of 80 and 4. It's going to be 80 divided by 4. And we're going to write that as 80 over 4. But now I actually need to evaluate the expression. I've now added 21 to the quotient of 80 and 4. Order of operations tells me, parentheses first, there are none. Clear exponents, there are none. Multiply and divide left to right, well, here's a division problem, 80 divided by 4. That might require a little scratch work, so I'm just going to go ahead, 80 divided by 4. In fact, in this situation, really what we ought to do is the zeros trick that we've talked about, where we can just think 8 divided by 4. Well, 8 divided by 4 is 2, all right? And there's no zeros to cross off on this number, so any zeros that are left have to get incorporated into my answer. 80 over 4 equals 20. Now I'm left with 20 plus 21. Well, 20 plus 21, if I come over here, 20 plus 21, 0 plus 1 is 1, 2 plus 2 is 4. I find that that equals 41. All right, so that's lesson 2.3, 5th grade. You all have a great day. Mr. Swack will talk to you later. Bye.